call to order the meeting of Mayor and Council. We want to thank everyone for being here. If you'll rise for the invocation by Councilman King.
All right, if we bow our heads, please. Heavenly Father, Lord Jesus, we thank you for this day, Lord. We just thank you for all the blessings you have given to each and every one of us, Lord. Just thank you for the opportunity for us to be here tonight and the opportunity to serve our community. Lord, guide our conversations and discussions tonight and give us the wisdom and knowledge needed to make the right decision. And Lord, at the end of the day, we just give you all the praise and glory and honor. Lord, continue to keep our city lifted up, our state and our country, Lord, as well as Ukraine. We ask all these blessings in your wonderful, glorious name. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. As you will note, we have some young special guests with us here tonight. A couple of us are getting sworn in tonight, so it's although you get elected as an individual, your whole family gets pulled into it with you, whether they chose this role or not. And some of them are loud, so it's a blessing to have them here. So, okay, are there any changes to tonight's agenda?
No, sir, there are not.
Okay, you've all received the minutes from our last meeting on May 10th. If there are no questions or comments, I'll accept the motion to receive the minutes.
Councilman Holland, Mr. Mayor, I make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Councilman King, I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. You also have the minutes from our budget workshop on May 3rd. If there are no questions in regards to that, I'll accept the motion to receive those minutes.
Councilman McCoy, I'll make the motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Councilman Henderson, I second.
Thank you very much. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. And next, we're going to call up Judge Candace, and Papa gets to be sworn in. Okay? You come up here with us. We're going to come up here.
I, David Genshaw,
I, David Genshaw,
do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the laws of the State of Delaware
and the Constitution and the laws of the State of Delaware
and the Charter of the City of Seaford,
and the Charter of the City of Seaford,
that I will, with true faith
and I will, with true faith
and allegiance, bear to the same
and allegiance bear to the same,
and defend them against all enemies whatsoever.
and defend them against all enemies whatsoever,
And I will faithfully and impartially
and I will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties of the office of Mayor
discharge the duties of the office of Mayor
of the City of Seaford
of the City of Seaford
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God. All right, group hug.
Just forget to pull the bottom of this thing off. Yep.
Welcome aboard. Glad to have you.
Thank you. And next, we'll call up Councilman McCoy and his family. City manager was joking, if our families keep growing like this, we're going to have it in the convention center next time.
I, Matthew McCoy,
I, Matthew McCoy,
do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of the State of Delaware
and the Constitution and laws of the State of Delaware
and the Charter of the City of Seaford,
and the Charter of the City of Seaford,
that I will with true faith
and I will true faith
and allegiance bear to the same
and allegiance bear to the same,
and defend them against all enemies whatsoever.
and defend them against all enemies whatsoever,
And I will faithfully and impartially
and I will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties as a council member
discharge the duties as a council member
of the City of Seaford
of the City of Seaford
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Excuse me, sir. This is your first time off a gun.
Glad to have you, buddy. Wish you well.
The families are more than welcome to stay, or if you would like to depart, we'll be home later to celebrate. See you guys. See you, buddy.
It's bedtime.
See you, man. Thank you. Okay, at this time, we're going to go ahead and do our vote for vice mayor. I believe each of you has a ballot in front of you. We do this each election cycle. We vote for vice mayor. If you will cast your vote and pass it down to me. Thanks, sir. Our vice mayor will be Dan Henderson by unanimous decision, so thank you very much.
Congratulations, bud.
Thank you for your vote of confidence.
Vice mayor is a tough job. You get dumped on at the last minute when the mayor can't show up for things, and you have to react quickly, and Dan has bailed me out on numerous occasions, so I appreciate all his work. Liaisons are going to remain the same for this next year, so each of you will stay in your current roles. You also have the board committees. These are all the committees and commissions and different groups that we have, those who lead those groups that have been part of this city for some time. We will need a motion to accept all the committees, commission members, et cetera, to move that forward.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the committee members.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Santos. Is there a second?
Councilman Henderson, I second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Do we have any correspondence?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay, I'm now going to turn it over to our building official for our public hearing. I guess, do we need to close our regular meeting?
Yes.
Do we need a motion?
hearing. You just opened the public hearing.
We just opened the public hearing, okay. So we'll make sure we did it correctly. Thanks. Mr. Bailey,
Thank you. Congratulations, Mayor
Thank you.
Gensel and Councilman McCoy.
Thanks, Mike.
thank you.
So there's just two items on tonight's public hearing. We'll go right into number one. This is for MS Property Group LLC. They're requesting a sketch site plan review for the construction of two warehouse buildings to be located on Venture Drive within the Ross Business Park, tax map and parcel 331-5.00-4.26. This is an aerial photo of the existing lot there. It's kind of near the end of Venture Drive, past the pond, past FedEx, kind of across the road from where Kent Peterson's doing his park there. It's the one of the last vacant lots in Ross Business Park. we did receive this site plan from Morris and Ritchie Associates showing 2 warehouse buildings on the property. And I do have it blown up on the next slide with on-site parking and dumpster enclosures there behind the buildings. And what they're showing is 2 9,960 square foot flexible warehouse spaces with they're showing up to 6 tenant spaces per building. They're proposed with 22 parking spaces. 20 is required number by code for those size buildings. And the project does meet the area and bulk requirements for the M1 zone. This is the site data table from the plans. Basically goes over everything on the site plan as far as the parking and the lot size setbacks, which it meets all of those requirements. And it does require additional approvals once this goes further from the State Fire Marshal, Sussex Conservation for the stormwater, and the city engineer also for the stormwater.
Okay, are there any questions from council? Are there any questions from the public? Okay, Mr. Bailey.
Okay, we'll move on. This is item number 2 for KRM Seaford 1 LLC, and they're requesting a preliminary site plan review for the construction of 2 70,000 square foot 1-story buildings with paved parking and loading docks, zoning M1 light industrial. This is on Opportunity Drive in the new Western Sussex Business Campus. Tax map and parcel 331-5.00-4.29. This is an aerial photo, most recent one I could find. There's a lot more happening out there now, but I highlighted it in red there. That's lot 1. It's a large parcel there at the corner of Ross Mansion, Ross Station Road and Herring Run Road. And we do have a site plan submitted for this, showing both buildings there with loading docks. They kind of face each other, the loading docks do, and parking on the outside of the buildings. Like I said earlier, it's 2 70,000 square foot 1-story buildings with the paved parking and loading docks. They're proposing 192 paved parking spaces, where 140 is the requirement, and it meets the area and bulk requirements for the M1 zone. And site data table for the plan goes over everything I just spoke about. It does meet the area and bulk requirements for the M1 zone. And this will also require additional approvals from State Fire Marshal, Sussex Conservation. DelDOT will have a piece of that a little bit for their stormwater, I believe, and the city engineer for stormwater, which GMB's already done the review on.
Okay, are there any questions from council?
Yes.
Councilman Henderson?
Just for my own clarity, I'm not clear on it. What's the difference between a sketch site plan review and a preliminary site plan review?
So sketch site plan is very early in their development process, where they just want to come and get an approval so they can massage that. Preliminary is more refined. There's usually not much changes between a preliminary and a final. So a sketch can change drastically.
Because the two plans look very similar.
Yes, it's just how they
between the
apply.
other two, so
Yeah.
I was just unclear as to
Yeah.
what that was. Thank you
Chances
very
are
much.
they could skip the preliminary stages altogether and go straight to final based on the looks of the plans.
Thank you.
Okay, good question. Any other questions? Any questions from the public? Okay, if not, we'll go ahead and close our public hearing and reopen our regular meeting. Did you want to come up and,
I'm part of the applicant, I just wanted to go up there if anyone had
you're here and you want to present, I get it. And you've got a great poster. We love to show off the great poster.
Sure. My name is Jonathan Richard from Beckham Morgan Group. I am here to present on behalf of KRM 1 Seaford, and I was here just to have any questions that you guys may have. Obviously, Mr. Bailey went over a lot of information for you guys, but if you have any additional comments or concerns or questions, this is a graphic site plan that we have prepared.
Is that it on the back? It looked like there was a brick and mortar.
Yes,
That's
this
just some
is an
examples.
example of the building that will be out there. This is KRM. They are out of Chestertown in Stevensville. This is an example of the Stevensville
Nice.
facility that they have, which is obviously right before that's on Kent Island. So this is something they're proposing out there.
Looks good, impressive.
Very good. Thank you.
No questions, all right?
I think
we're excited.
we've been talking about this and showing KRM pictures for so many years. I think these guys are ready to roll, so that's
It was
good.
even on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Yeah, I noticed.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Mr. Bailey.
So this is the findings of facts for item number 1 for MS Property Group LLC located on Benchford Drive. It's tax map and parcel 331-5.00-4.26. And they're requesting a sketch site plan review for the construction of 2 warehouse buildings. And those are 9,960 square foot each. Flexible warehouse space for up to 6 tenant spaces in each building. They're proposing 22 paved parking spaces and 20 is required. Project does meet all the area and bulk requirements for M1 zone, and it requires additional approvals from State Fire Marshal, Sussex Conservation. The city engineer for stormwater and planning and zoning did make a favorable recommendation to council on May 5th.
Okay, I'll accept a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to approve the request of M&S Property Group LLC for a sketch site plan review for the construction of 2 warehouse buildings to be located on Venture Drive, tax map and parcel 331-5.00-4.26 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Holland. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilman McCoy seconds. Okay, are there any questions on the motion? If not, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman Holland?
Aye.
Councilman McCoy?
Aye.
Councilman King?
Aye.
Councilman Santos?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
And Councilman Henderson?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Okay, thank you.
So this is for public hearing number 2, findings of facts for KRM Seaford 1 LLC, located on Opportunity Drive in the Western Sussex Business Campus, tax map and parcel 331-5.00-4.29. Zoning is M1 Light Industrial, and they're requesting a preliminary site plan review for the construction of 2 70,000 square foot, 1-story buildings with paved parking and loading docks. They're proposing 192 parking spaces where 140 is required by code, and it meets all the area and bulk requirements for the M1 zone, and will require approvals from State Fire Marshal, Sussex Conservation, DelDOT, and the city engineer for stormwater. Planning and zoning did make a favorable recommendation to council on May 5th as well.
Okay, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion to approve the request of KRM Seaford 1 LLC for a preliminary site plan review for the construction of 2 70,000 square foot, 1-story buildings with paved parking and loading docks to be located at Lot 1, Opportunity Drive, tax map and parcel number 331-5.00-4.29 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman McCoy. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Councilman Santos, second. Are there any questions on the motion? If not, we will do a roll call vote. Councilman McCoy?
Aye.
Councilman Holland?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Councilman Henderson?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Councilman Santos?
Yes, based on findings of
And
facts.
Councilman King?
Aye.
Okay, passes. Thank you so much. I do want to take a moment, just both of these projects are great projects for Seaford. The KRM project we've been working on for an incredibly long time. I want to thank the city council for their vision on this property. I want to thank the city manager and our economic development chair for leading that process. Certainly want to thank KRM for being here, and the state and the county for their investment in this property. This is a huge building that has not happened in Seaford in a long time. We've had pictures and we've had a vision, but to see it actually coming to be is a big deal. So thank you so much. Appreciate you guys being here. So, okay, annexation committee report under new business. Are you, city manager, leading that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is to present for approval an annexation committee report for annexation of property owned by Laborio Seaford LLC for annexing tax map and parcel 331-5.00-43.02 located at the northeast corner of Road 534, Herring Run Road, and Route 13A, Bridgeville Highway, Seaford, Delaware. So in council's package, there's a couple pieces of information. First is the request for annexation, and it gives the description, the petitioner of the lands, the location, reason for annexation, and they state it is to obtain utilities. Also, in the package, you have some maps that locate this property. As stated, it's on the corner of Bridgeville Highway, Route 13A, and then Tharp Road. It's right behind Lowe's. Additionally, in your package, you have some maps. So, Herring Run Road, thank you, sir. So, in your package, you have some maps. We have the annexation plan where we show the parcel. It is in our growth zone. There's a copy of the Sussex County tax maps, just for reference, where the subject site is. We also have the comprehensive plan, development plan with city boundary. There is the zoning map. And just a little bit about the zoning map. When we got the zoning map approved in the comprehensive plan, we identified this property as commercial zoning, specifically C2 highway commercial zoning. So the requested zone by the petitioner in the annexation petition is C2. So that is keeping with our comprehensive plan that City Council approved. The annexation committee was appointed by the mayor on April 26th to investigate the possibility of annexing these lands. I would like to say the annexation committee consisted of 3 members of council. Vice Mayor Henderson was the chairman. Councilman Orlando Holland and Councilman Matt McCoy sat on the committee. They did meet and reviewed this property, and they created the attached, council has a copy of it in their package, the attached annexation committee report for council's consideration this evening. I'll hit the highlights of the report. It is rather lengthy, but it talks about the petitioner and location of the lands, which we've discussed, its location and the owner. The total acreage is just over 6 acres, 6.0901 acres. We talked about the reason for annexation to obtain city utilities. Streets and roadways. The report states that there are no city roadways in or adjacent to the property. They are all state-maintained roadways. So the report goes into the Department of Transportation must approve any new or revised entrances on the roadways listed above as they are state-maintained. And any proposed development after annexation has the potential of imposing additional traffic on the adjoining roads, and anyone planning to develop any project on these lands is encouraged to contact the Delaware Department of Transportation to work them in, have them work with you on their plans for development. Stormwater drainage, it's similar. There are no municipal stormwater systems in close proximity to these lands. Any stormwater management system to serve these lands will have to be designed by the developer and approved by the Sussex Conservation District. Zoning, we discussed that slightly. The current zoning is agricultural residential, or AR1 in the county, and the proposed zoning is C2 highway commercial, which is in conformance with our annexation plan and our comprehensive plan. Just to talk about the electric for the parcel, currently the subject parcel receives service from Delmarva Power, and upon annexation, the city will amend its service territory in agreement with Delmarva Power through the Public Service Commission to include these lands, and any development after the amendment of that agreement would be serviced by the city of Seaford. I'll just note there is an old farmhouse on the property. Our director of electric went out there. He doesn't believe it's receiving service currently. You can just see it in that aerial view there. It does not appear that it's been occupied for many years. You can't really see it from the road, but it does exist on the property. So he's been out there taking a look at that. Sewer, the city of Seaford currently has a gravity sewer main near the subject property. It services the Lowe's development located to the east of the subject lands, and we're the only publicly owned municipal sewer system in the area, and once annexed, the lands would be eligible to tie on to the municipal sewer system. So there would need to be easements worked out between the 2 adjacent property owners. We have planned for service when the Lowe's development was developed to service these lands, because at one point they were owned by the same owner. So we do have the capacity at our wastewater treatment plant currently to service these lands. Water is similar. We have an existing water main at the Lowe's property, a 10-inch water main. Same condition, it would have to have an easement to interconnect, and then any kind of extension would have to be approved by the building official and the director of public works. Easements, the owner will need to provide the city necessary easements for water, sewer, electric, or other installations the city might entertain undertaking. And they'd have to be prepared by a licensed Delaware survey with a written legal description of the lands. Property taxes, the lands will be taxed based on the city assessment following annexation. The assessment would be based on the value of the land and improvements per the city zoning. The current designated land use in the tax assessment office in Sussex County is, again, AR1, agricultural residential. We can't establish a property tax value at this point, but our property tax rate is 34 cents per $100 of 100% assessment based on 2019 market values. We have talked a little bit about the comprehensive plan. It was included in our comprehensive plan. The zoning was set, which is the zoning being requested. And then we did file a plan of service with the Office of State Planning as is required by our charter. And in your package, there is a letter of approval from the Office of State Planning we received May 2nd. They have no objection to the annexation should council decide to do that. The only request they have is that we notify them at the end of the conclusion of the process so they can update their maps. There are some advantages and disadvantages to the city. Some advantages, the city may benefit from increased tax base, opportunity to provide all utility service, electric, water, sewer to the parcel and spread the cost of service over a larger user base. There would be local control of the development at the local municipal level, having the authority over it. This area would be served by the municipal police force, which would reduce property owner confusion and minimize dispatcher time, because currently the area is surrounded on a lot of sides by the city, but it's served by the state police, so sometimes that can cause some confusion. The governing body that would be most impacted by the land use decisions will be the ones making those decisions, so city council would make those decisions. And this is in keeping with livable Delaware and minimizing sprawl. Disadvantages to the city, just, in no particular order. With continued growth, the city will have to expand its personnel to provide all the expected services. The expansion may increase the operational capital budgets, increase the area for our city departments to serve. Traffic obviously may increase depending upon the development that occurs. And if the property redevelops, accidents could increase without improvements to the adjoining roads and intersections. Advantages to the area proposed for annexation: it'll receive all utility service from one owner, so coordination should be easier through the city. They will be provided local police protection with an anticipated shorter response time. Our building official and his department will coordinate all permitting through the city. We'll provide them with support for that permitting through checklists and agency contacts. The local government will do the zoning of the lands. Snow removal on all city-owned public streets, leaf and limb pickup at the curb, and maintenance such as paving, pavement markings on the city streets will be provided by the city. Complaints will be made to the city, and all property owners will receive local representation for concerns through elected official. Obviously, the owner will also benefit through the utility services once extended by the owner. Some disadvantages to the area proposed for annexation is they'll have to adhere to local codes and ordinances in building and maintaining facilities, which they'll perceive as additional paperwork and occasionally more restrictive. They will only have one vendor for utilities, water, sewer, and electric, and they will have to adhere to more restrictive codes in placement of outside storage and property appearance. The committee, when they met, they did unanimously agree to proceed with the proposed annexation process for this property, and the committee further recommended the property be zoned C2 highway commercial in accordance with the zoning ordinance upon annexation. A public hearing will be held to fully explain what area is being proposed to be annexed into the city of Seaford. And as we talked about this as part of the State of Delaware Land Use Planning Act, the plan of services was submitted and approved. So that is complete. And then there's just a disclaimer with all our annexation committee reports. It solely reviews the annexation of lands into the territorial limits of the city of Seaford. They don't review any projects or endorse any project as part of an annexation process. Any projects that may be presented for the land once annexed into the city of Seaford will follow the normal process for development, including planning and zoning and city council public hearings to allow for the public opportunity to comment. The annexation committee report is signed by all members. As I stated, Councilman Henderson was the chair. Councilman Henderson, is there any other comments you'd like to add related to the annexation?
I really have nothing to add. It does, it's contiguous, and it brings, it's not, it didn't seem to be non-conforming in any way, so there's really no objection.
Okay, are there any questions from council? Councilman King?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I guess my question could be for Councilman Henderson or City Manager Anderson. Just for clarity, if I understood it correctly, the city manager referenced the county recognizes the property as agricultural, residential. The city is going to recognize the property as commercial. How does that work? I mean, if you can, just for my own
Take a
clarity,
stab at it.
can you
Sure.
talk a little bit about how that happens?
So in our comprehensive plan, which was approved by the Office of State Planning, we submitted a plan, and in the comprehensive plan where we have areas set aside for desired annexation and desired growth and use, we identified that property as a C2 property. And it was approved through that process. How long did it take? It took us a year and a half that we worked on the comprehensive plan. So once it was approved, then that was included in the C2, in our C2 plan.
Right.
Although the county recognizes it as agricultural.
So the county can't come back and say, hey, you guys are taking agricultural land and you're trying to change it into commercial?
No, because it went through
Okay.
this comprehensive plan process, which was approved by the state, which would trump any county
Awesome.
regulation.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you. Well done.
Any other, Councilman Santos?
Yes. My question is, with the farmhouse that's currently there, will it get grandfathered in? Here it says that the purpose for the annexation is to obtain city utilities. Is it because they want to have city utilities for the farmhouse, or do they plan on, I guess, going on along with the city's vision of it, this being a C2 zoned property and have businesses there at one point?
So as part of the annexation process and filling out the plan of services document that we're required to submit to the state, it does ask the development potential of the property. We have to actually calculate the water and sewer flows that are anticipated to verify to the state we have capacity at our wastewater treatment plant. When I spoke with the property owner, he has no solid concrete plans, but he desires commercial zoning because he's looking at the corridor, he's considering a whole range of commercial occupancy. Related to the farmhouse that's there, certainly if they desire to remodel the house, connect it to water and sewer, after annexation, they'd be eligible to do that. They'd get with our building official, our director of public works, our electric director, and we could reinstate utilities or connect utilities to that house if they desire to do that. That's certainly a possibility. My guess is they desire the commercial zoning for some higher and better use than just having the house remodeled, but that is a possibility, sir.
I think that brings up a good point. The house is not habitable as it stands now.
I agree.
And it would be, if annexed, it would be C2 property, so he may have to seek some sort of variance for a residential application.
It's a good point. Likely, you're correct. If they wanted to expand it or change the setbacks or add on to the building, it would become non-conforming as a residential structure. You're correct.
Okay. Other questions from council? If not, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the annexation committee report for the annexation of property owned by Laborio Seaford LLC for annexing tax map parcel number 331-5.00-43.02, located at the northeast corner of Road 534, Herring Run Road, and Route 13, an alternative Bridgeville Highway, Seaford, Delaware 19973, as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Santos. Is there a second?
Councilman King, I'll second the motion.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions on the motion? All right, if not, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman Santos.
Aye.
Councilman King.
Aye.
Councilman McCoy.
Aye.
Councilman Holland.
Aye.
And Councilman Henderson.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you three for working on that. I appreciate your time and getting together on that. All right, next we have our city budget. City manager's going to walk through at a high level.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council members. Just to talk about our city budget this year, our FY23 budget. Got to get used to this. So just an overview of our budget proposal this year. There is no tax rate, sewer, water, electric, or other user fee increases proposed in the budget. That's the good news. We appreciate all your effort to help us get it to that location. Investments are proposed in city infrastructure and human resources, as well as continuing to increase our reserve account balances so we can provide the much-needed services to our residents. I just want to update the changes from budget meeting number 1 that we had till today, what's being presented. There are some minor changes, but I just want to enumerate them. We've removed the expenditure for the Riverwalk railing project of $95,000 that was proposed in the initial draft. And we removed the funding from the Outdoor Recreation Parks and Trails funds of $47,500. And then council will recall we did not get a bid for the playground structure at Nutter Park, so we're going to rebid that. So we put that into this budget as a placeholder, and so we put that in for $43,000 and then added the grant from ORPT of $32,500 because a lot of money, matching funds, 75% funding is coming from ORPT for that project. So that net difference when you do the math is $36,750. So the transfer from reserves to balance the budget went down by that $36,750 from $769,215 to $732,465. Those are the only changes that were made from budget meeting number 1 to the budget that's being presented this evening and that was sent out to council about a week ago. So FY23 total revenues without internal transfers is $37.8 million. You can see there from the chart, the largest expenditure obviously is in our electric department for purchases of electric at $16.435 million. And then behind that you have general fund at $10.7 million this year. FY23 total revenue with internal transfers. This is just a 4-year history here that we put together to watch this trend. This year, FY23, it's $41.578 million. It's our largest budget in several years, but as we spoke at length in budget meeting number 1, a lot of the money that's in the budget this year comes from external sources, not city revenues. So that's why these numbers look a little higher. General fund revenue is $10.7 million. So again, the highest in the history that we chart there, but a lot of those projects, a lot of that capital is for projects, economic development projects that we're fortunate to have help with from the county and the state. General fund transfer from the electric is $3.013 million. That has rebounded nicely from some of our lows during the pandemic. Not as high as it has been in the past, but economic development projects are coming online. Businesses are restarting or coming up to full capacity, so our electric revenue to underwrite general fund is also rebounding. General fund transfer from the sewer fund this year is budgeted at $600,000. It's been a pretty steady transfer over the last few years. We're trying to reduce our dependency on electric and transfer that over to the other enterprise funds of water and sewer. This year, to balance the water budget with the capital expenditures that were requested, we did again have to zero out the transfer from the water fund, but there is no increase in those rates. Water fund revenue, though, is $2.086 million. Again, some capital's in there for the Western Sussex Business Campus, so that's why this number is a little higher than in past years. Sewer fund revenue, very similar, $8.33 million. Sewer installations in the Western Sussex Business Campus, some other infrastructure investments are what make that number higher. So a lot of that is capital. Electric fund revenue, $16.435 million. So electric is up. People, they are building. There's been a building boom in Seaford over the last couple of years. A lot of those are being occupied now. Electric is coming online, so that's good news. Total expenditures, obviously the largest one there is electric distribution at $12.904 million. You know, the largest part of that is the wholesale electric that we purchase through DMEC and then resell, and then followed by that with police at $4.47 million. Pretty typical for municipal budgeting. You know, the police department it's a large expenditure. So budgeted tax collection this year is down just slightly from last year at $4.25 million, but it's holding pretty steady, and it's been up in the trend there, it's been up in the last few years. So some of these projects and some of the infrastructure investments the council has made over the last few years, construction is following that. So it's been good. Realty transfer tax collection. So what this chart shows is our history of realty transfer tax collection. The 4 bars to the left of the slide are actual numbers we brought in, and then the FY23 bar to the far right there is actually what we've budgeted. So this year we budgeted $600,000 of realty transfer tax, and you know we monitor that monthly. Our staff sends that out to the council. Our realty transfer tax has been strong this year. That's the good news, so we can rely on it. Yes, sir.
Question, sir? Sure. The current fiscal year number, when was it last totaled?
The current fiscal year, FY22.
Yeah, because do we have 2 more months to go, or is that?
We do.
Current number?
Yeah, June gave it to me. She's here, our director of finance. Can you, she's smiling at me. Do you recall when we pulled that number?
I think it was May 18th.
So it's fairly current? Okay.
But you would be correct. There's still going to be a few.
6 weeks to go.
Yeah, yeah. So you're correct. It's not a complete full year. There will still be a little bit more. Any other questions, sir?
No, thank you.
All right. So just some reserve account status. We watch that. That trend is good because these are the 2 reserve accounts that we typically pull from to balance our budget. The Director of Finance did point out, wanted me to stress to Council that the reason why that number is so large, that's where we park the money for the ARPA funds. So as those public works projects go, that number will be drawn down. So there's, you know, about $2 million in there now, and we anticipate the other tranche of $2 million to go into that account as well. So that's temporary that it's in there now. And on that slide also is the total reserve account balance as of 4/26 is $16.7 million. So our reserves are growing in the right direction, and you know that is good news. So here's some transfer history. This is a number we watch. This is the number we use to balance the budget, and this was updated by our Director of Finance last week. And so the gold bars show what we've budgeted in the last few budget years, and what our budget is this year, $732,000 to balance the budget. The blue bars show what we actually wound up spending of that, what we actually wound up transferring to meet our budgetary needs. So Council's very interested in that gap because, yes, we budget an amount, but we don't always wind up spending that amount due to projects that don't come to fruition or employee changes that might occur.
I have a question about the reserve.
Yes.
Can you go back one more slide?
Yes, sir.
please? Thank you. So the money that we have sitting there, is it earning any type of interest, or is it just kind of stagnant and sitting in a money market?
Yes.
Or
well, no,
interest?
we don't do that. We have a sweep account.
Okay.
Okay. And these are various accounts. Like, you know, there is an account that we have with our bank where we make payroll from. Okay. My memory is it's about $2 million at any one time. And it earns interest, yes, but the interest rates are so small currently, it's just, we don't return ourselves a lot of money from cash management. There are programs out there when you have this kind of money where you can put it in money markets. There are other vehicles you can put it into. The Director of Finance and I have meetings next week with 2 financial institutions with products they have. We'll bring more of that back. We have not done a lot of that because there's been no return over
Sure.
the last few years, but it's
Yeah,
a good
and
point.
I get that, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying risk, but
Well,
it's a lot of money to
that's a
potentially
question.
earn something. Something's better than nothing.
Yeah,
So-
that's a question that you always have to answer is how much risk can you tolerate, with public
Okay.
dollars?
Thank you.
So, yes,
Appreciate
sir.
it.
Sir. One more
Any
question.
other questions? Yes, sir.
Aren't there some statutory limitations on what you can invest?
Yes.
Because those are public funds, and
You are
They-
correct.
they
Yeah,
can't be arbitraged or invested in,
you're absolutely
can't be
correct.
risked at all.
Right, and that's why we've always been averse to any of those products that are out there. In years past, years and years ago, 20 years ago, we were making large amounts of money off having healthy interest rates. It's just, over the past few decades, that number has just been so low due to economic factors. But the Vice Mayor is correct. There are a lot of limitations on what we can do and how we can do it.
Hopefully, the upcoming meetings will produce some positive results that maybe you can bring back through.
Yeah, and I'll share, when we go to our city manager meetings, we go to our DMEC meetings, there are governmental entities that are going through this, moving forward. So there are policies and procedures out there. So just a little bit about the debt service. We talk about that in depth and provided the entire debt schedule for council's review at budget meeting number 1. But we track debt in our accounting department, and it's going in a good trend. As we get into the outer years, that debt reduces. And I will say, though, we have not entered into any very, very large projects like the wastewater treatment plant or the substation expansion recently. So those are numbers in the future that likely will change that outstanding debt total. Charges for service, as stated earlier, tax, water, and sewer rates stay exactly the same, so there's no change proposed in this budget for those. Median household income, we track these numbers and its percentage. So the median household income is $52,840 in our area. And then with the water and sewer rates as they are, that total is $910.92 a year. So that total combined percentage of median household income is 1.72%. So that's very low. Anything below 3% is considered affordable. So our rates are very affordable for our residents. Capital requests, again, this is a large number, but we have a lot of projects on the plate, and we have a lot of funding for those. So this is the largest capital intensive budget we've had in many years. Just to talk about those numbers there, that total $10.7 million, the total capital funded with city dollars is only $1.8 million. So we are the fortunate recipient of state, county monies that really assist us putting infrastructure into the ground, meeting our economic development commitments, and so on and so forth. So that's just our history. It's just up over time. That's good news. We got a lot of projects. Just some staffing considerations. So total payroll in FY23 is $6.2 million. That's up almost 10%. But we'd like to point out with that number looks large year over year, but there are some general employee wage increases. That's less than $500,000. But it includes 5 new part-time and full-time employees in the general employee population. There are also 2 new police officers planned this year. So a total of 7, but in the general employee wage increase, there's only 5. And then again, this year, in accordance with our compensation policy, there is a midpoint analysis adjustment. So if any employee that's been in their position for 5 or more years and they have a satisfactory evaluation, they get moved to the midpoint if they're not already there. So the $64,000 represents that. And then as council is aware, we are in year 2 of our contract with the Teamsters. So that number is the wage increase associated with those 29 officers. Compensation plan adjustment, we just tracked that history. FY23 proposed at 2%, and as we discussed in our budget meeting number 1, the council took the bold step of doing a mid-year adjustment. So, when we talk about the inflation rates or the CPI is a little higher than that, we factor in the adjustment we did mid-year, which was out of budget. So that is the compensation plan number proposed in this budget, 2%. And then there is a merit adjustment. So depending upon your evaluation, those numbers would total the merit and plan adjustment, depending upon your evaluation as an employee. And then staffing, these are just, we talked a little bit about the staffing that's in this budget. The administration department, 1 full-time customer service position is added into this budget. Code department, a part-time inspection position is added. Police department, 2 full-time sworn officers. They're staggered over the year, so we'll hire 1 for the first academy, the second one for the second academy, working closely with the chief on those timings and posting of those ad testing. Parks department, 1 full-time parks technician, and then public works, 1 part-time technician. Council authorized us to hire that early, so that person is actually in place and working now. They'll be maintained. And then as part of our succession planning in the electric department, there's 1 full-time ground position. The only other comment I'll make that we made in the budget meeting number 1 was 2 of these positions will, there's some attrition and some retirement we're planning for. So next year, these positions will go down in those departments by 1. And I believe the only other thing I want to say is I want to thank the mayor and council. I know coming to those meetings and working with us during your liaisons, we asked a lot of time of you. We appreciate all your feedback. But I really want to thank our Director of Finance, June Merritt, Tricia, our Director of Economic Development, Community Relations, our Chief of Police, worked very hard. Bill Bennett, who's here, I want to thank him, Burley Mears, Mike Bailey, and Katie Hickey. They prepared the budget that you guys saw. They made the changes you guys requested. They put in the projects you guys wanted. We can't do it. I can't stand up here without the support they give the city. So thank you to all of them.
Thank you very much. All right, while the city manager's up there, any questions in regards to the budget? And I guess you don't really have to stand there, but sorry about that.
I have a brief comment. if I
Sure,
might.
sure.
I'd like to thank the city staff for their work on the planning session that laid the groundwork for this. There were really, this is, in my tenure as a councilman, it's the smoothest deliberations that we've had yet. And it was all because of the planning session and the way that went down. There were no surprises. And I just want to commend the city staff for that. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions or
No, if I could piggyback on what Councilman Henderson said, and just the availability. I mean, they've got a lot on their plate day in and day out, and you can send a question or a million questions, and the attention to detail and responding is very much appreciated. So add that onto their daily routines. They did a phenomenal job.
Okay. If there are no other questions or comments, then I'll accept the motion.
All right, Mr. Mayor, Councilman King, I'll make a motion to approve the FY23 City of Seaford budget as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Councilman Santos seconds. Any questions on the motion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman King?
Aye.
Councilman McCoy?
Aye.
Councilman Holland?
Aye.
Councilman Henderson?
Aye.
And Councilman Santos.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous again. Thank you all for your work on this. You really did a fabulous job.
Thank you, guys.
Yep. All right, any old business?
No, sir.
Okay, reminders of meetings.
All right, so we have a couple Memorial Day service to be held on Monday, May 30th, 2022 at the Kiwanis Park at 11 a.m. There'll be no parade this year. In case of inclement weather, the ceremony will be at the Seaford Fire Hall. Seaford offices, city offices will be closed Monday, May 30th also for the Memorial Day holiday, so enjoy your holiday. And then Director of Economic Development and Community Relations, Tricia Newcomer, will be acting city manager from May 28th until June 5th. That's all I have, sir.
Okay, very good. All right, we'll go to committee reports. Councilman Santos, Administration IT.
Thank you, Mayor. Staff had a lot of meetings these past couple of weeks. They attended the DMEC Board and Executive Committee meeting, the Annexation Committee meeting. They had they met with David Perlmutter regarding some changes to the residents at Rivers Place site plan. They worked on the staff work one day. Everybody put their time for the cleanup week. They met with the board members of the Seaford Community Swim Center to discuss opening plans for summer 2022. So I encourage everybody to go out there and register to, for the swim center. They attended the federal earmark funding press conference for the sewer relocation at the Oyster House Park. That's a big project. I'm very, very excited for that. And they also had a meeting regarding the Seaford School District regarding some bus traffic. They've for the IT report, they worked on the fiscal year. For the administration report, they worked on the fiscal year 2023 budget. They reviewed the net meter and SB 298 draft legislation, and they reviewed they have been reviewing and analyzing the State of Delaware Healthy Families Act and the State of Delaware House Bill 409 for sick and safety leave. That's and that everything else is routine.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, Police and Fire, Councilman Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chief Wilson reports that for the month of May, there were 66 calls as of yesterday, for an average of 2.8 calls per day. EMS, for the month of May, there's 249 calls as of yesterday, for an average of 10.8 calls per day. Total department responses to date for 2022 is 1,972 calls for an average of 8.8 per day. You can see some other statistics for in-city alarms, out-of-city alarms, and assists for other agencies. Under significant events, on the 18th of May, there was a motor vehicle crash with entrapment on Redden Road and Oak Road. 3 patients were extricated from that accident. Apparatus, the status, there was A87, the ambulance, the oldest ambulance we have, has a suspension issue, which is gone to the shop for repairs. Also, there was an accident, it's not in this report, but there was an accident with B87, the ambulance, yesterday. A hit and run accident. The other car left, not the ambulance. So there were no injuries. There were no injuries to personnel, and it was minor to the ambulance. And I did not know whether it was in service or out of service, but I did, prior to the meeting, I saw it at Rural Farms on a call. So the damage wasn't enough to send it out of service. Under emergency medical services, they're reviewing 5 full-time applications for 2 positions and will test in the near future. They're still seeking a part-time EMT, and the new lieutenants are on shifts and performing well. Under events, the Rescue 87 attended with 2 members to the Ellendale Fire Company's 100th anniversary parade. That was on May 14th, and also on May 14th, the fire police assisted traffic for the Trinity Foundation 5K run walk. Under Seaford Police Department, Chief Marshal Kraft has submitted his data. You'll see in the columns for 2022 year to date and previous years all the way to 2018. He did mention at yesterday's meeting that he would like to update this, but I have not yet received the update.
I have not either, sir.
So there were some clearance rates that were low due to some missing data. So those clearance rates that'll be listed under additional crime data, those numbers will be edited, and you'll notice that when I get the update that clearance rate of 32% will rise. Under drug complaints, there were 15 total drug complaints with 14 adult arrests and 1 pending active. We had 1 overdose call that the police responded to. Under traffic, there were 279 traffic contacts with 65 citations and 7 warnings, 3 DUIs, 2 alcohol-related and 1 drug-related, and there was 1 crash-related DUI that was involved with one of those 3. 21 crashes, fortunately none fatal, 3 injury crashes, and 2 hit-and-run crashes. There was also 1 pedestrian accident, and you'll notice that pedestrian safety has been kind of top of mind with council and in the news media lately, so you can see there is a need for increased pedestrian safety measures. You'll see a number of significant events that have been edited down. There were obviously more events than this. However, they are more numerous than one would desire. The administration was busy with their activities. Also thankful to Master Corporal Wingate for attending the Haitian Flag Day, as well as Councilman Holland. There was at Sussex Tech on the 16th, there was a law enforcement memorial flag raising. Lieutenant Little and Sergeant Horns attended, and there was Seaford PD patrol for the road closure events and traffic control for the Trinity 5K run walk. A lot of training going on. You'll see there's almost a dozen training events that are going on. Of note, Sergeant Mills is a certified instructor on child's passenger safety seats, and he's also a technician, so he's instructing on he's instructing our officers and the public as well on the proper use of child safety seats. And at the bottom, you'll see the total criminal arrests with listings, just a subdivision of the chart at the top. And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we have Code, Parks and Rec, Councilman Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, there is no Parks and Recs report that has been submitted. My apologies. We'll go to code. 1,622 rental licenses have been issued out of 1,654 total units. And the East Park Business Center have new building finished. They're waiting for the site contractor to come back and finish the rest of the road work within the property, and building pads are being installed. And 7-Eleven interests in site paving are being completed. And Coastal Kids Dentistry on Fallon Drive, right by Trinity, building footers have been poured. And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we have Electric, Councilman McCoy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a few highlights since the last report. The crew have helped with the cleanup week. They also sprayed the substations with weed killer. And Nick Smart went to the Navajo Nation for a week to run electric to houses with no electric service. They also worked in Martin Farms, turning up the elbows into the secondary pedestals. Regarding our director, had a standardized director's meeting, council liaison meeting, sent solar net metering information to DMEC for pending legislation, and had a meeting with a sales rep about a substation fencing. Over the next few weeks, they're going to continue working in Martin Farms, continue working in Bel Air multifamily, continue changing the lights on Sussex Highway to LED, and work on the primary service to the residents at River Place Building 3. That has been my report, Mr. Mayor. It's been in its entirety.
Thank you so much. And finally, we have Public Works Wastewater, Councilman King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My report has been submitted in its entirety. I'm just going to hit some of the highlights. I will start with the Public Works Department. Cleanup Week 2022 is complete. Discussions will follow on how to improve this process. Total tons of trash are up from the previous year, but the project came in under budget. Big thanks to the entire city team. This is an all-hands-on-deck project, so a big thank you there. Work is proceeding in replacing the sewer line at 7-Eleven, and the Route 13 sewer main project is currently underway. The team continues to work on flushing fire hydrants throughout our city. This project is taking longer to complete due to recording flows. Now that the cleanup week is behind us, there's a renewed focus on the pickup of leaves and limbs. I will jump over to the wastewater treatment facility. All is operating well, no major equipment maintenance needed. Plant performance remains good. Here's a few of the projects that will be happening over the next few weeks. They will continue to flush hydrants, repair cleanouts on the smoke testing list, and keep the plant up and running with 0 violations. And with that, Mr. Mayor, that concludes my report.
Again, want to circle up with everything everybody said here to thank all the city for cleanup week and the work on the budget. Specifically want to thank Mrs. Newcomer for welcoming Senator Carper's office here that day in a very professional way, and to allow him to give us $1.2 million towards that project on the waterfront. So that was a big deal. So thank you so much. With that, I will accept a.
Councilman Santos asked if I could, and I think you might, I'll yield to the councilman first.
No.
Oh, Councilman Santos asked, in our report, in administration's report, the Director of Finance noted a couple things in her report that I was asked to touch a little bit on. During this time of the year with the state legislature in full swing and bills are going fast and furious, the Vice Mayor and the Mayor know, we're asked to take a position on these bills through Delaware League, through SCAT, almost overnight. So in Ms. Merritt's report, there's 3 specific things noted. The net metering draft legislation, which is Senate Bill 298. So council recalls that's where net meters you can get if you have solar on your property. They're changing that. Senator Hansen is looking at some draft legislation, so we're really following that closely with our Director of Electric. That has a big impact on our system. We've done a review and analyzed the State of Delaware Healthy Families Act. So that was Senator McBride's law, and if no one's been kind of following that will extend benefits to State of Delaware people, State of Delaware employees, and it'll be part of the insurance program, so we'll pay into it as employees for a year before the benefits become eligible in 2026, and that'll extend basically 11 weeks of paid time off to our employees for major catastrophic events in their life. If their spouse has a cancer treatment, if they have a child, then they can get 11 weeks off, and it's paid at 80% through the state. So we don't pay it, but our employees, we have to backfill for them. So a lot of concern in our police department. A lot of our departments have one person in them. So what we talked with Councilman Santos about, we obviously follow these pieces of legislation as they become effective. Our employees, they deserve, they want these benefits. So what we will do over the next days to weeks, once we get the final legislation in hand, our HR staff will take our existing policies and work these into them, because as council's aware, we currently have a very generous sick leave program, that we pay for and our employees have access to. So we have to kind of tick and tie that and see what we already give, how does it meet it, and where does it go beyond. So once we get that change to our policy together, then we'll bring that back to council with a detailed proposal. But there's also House Bill 409, which Ms. Merritt notes down there, and that's sick and safety leave. So that's a bill that's circulating currently and gaining some traction, and if it gets passed in the next few weeks, it will require us to provide safety leave to employees. So as an example, if an employee wants to go meet with their divorce attorney, we have to give them paid time off to do that. And they can accumulate that over the, for every 30 hours they work, they get 1 hour of sick and safety leave to use in accordance with the law. So that would force a change to our employee handbook, our policy. So did that touch on what you were looking for?
Yeah,
Councilman?
I just knew you could explain it much better in much greater detail than I could.
There will be more to come, and we went into a detailed explanation in our liaison meeting with Councilman Santos, just to try to give everybody the heads up.
Yep.
These affect us, and these will make change in our
Will
workforce.
impact our budget, so. Okay,
Say one thing.
yes, sir.
Yes, I think we should give a big thank you to Mike Meoline's wife Kelly, owners of McDonald's, for the huge donation, $100,000 for the Montessori school. It was greatly appreciated.
Yep, that was a big deal, big deal. Okay, if there's no other questions or comments, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I second that motion, Mr.
Okay,
Mayor.
thank you. If there's no questions or disputes on that, all in favor? Aye. Those opposed, unanimous. Thank you all for being here.